So you're someone who continues to self-sabotage your physical results and you're kind of getting sick of it. Well, in this video, I hope to show you why that is happening and what you can do to start moving out of self-sabotage and get into the best physical and mental shape of your life. Guys, welcome to the video. My name is Tom Hobbs, and if you're new here, I am a body image mentor. I basically combine the inner world and personal development world with the fitness space and physical transformation to help people move through body dysmorphia, body image insecurities, and completely shift their inner world so they become an entirely new person inside and out. And self-sabotage is one of the most common things that I see in clients I work with and in the fitness space as a whole. And this is basically where you have a goal, you have the body you want to work towards, or it might not even be your body, it might be in another area of life, and you start doing well for a little while, but then something happens, a trigger, an event, a thought, a piece of self-doubt, and you fall completely off track, right? Now, this can, be things like emotional eating, binge eating, or it could just be, being lazy and not going to the gym. It might be comparing yourself and feeling less than, so you don't go and do the things that you know you need to do, all sabotaging you from achieving the goals that you have, and instead going back to square one and staying exactly as you are physically, mentally, emotionally, and just in life as a whole, right? And this is super frustrating. I've experienced this so many times. I suffered with body dysmorphia for the best part of 15 years, and across those 15 years was a lot of self-sabotage, running these same cycles to ultimately keep me stuck. And I was like, why does this keep happening? Because consciously, I want to look great. I want to change my physique. I want to be confident. I want to be a better man. And I want to get rid of this body dysmorphia. And I want it really badly. So why is this not happening? And I couldn't quite put my finger on why this cycle kept popping its head up, because I knew how to train. I knew what I needed to do. I knew how to eat. I understood, calories and a calorie deficit. And even to the point where I was actually working as a coach and a PT, and I had all this extra education. It's like, I know how to transform a physique. So what is it about these self-sabotage cycles that means that I and a lot of people that I was speaking to couldn't stay consistent? And this comes down to one thing that then has a flow-on effect and can be very different for everyone, right? So in this video, I'm going to talk to you about what that one thing is, but also understand that you and me and the clients I work with are all going to have a nuanced version of this, and it's going to require a different strategy to work through it. But as I said, hopefully we'll be able to identify why this is actually happening for you. And this comes down to one thing, and that is our core story, right? Now, as humans, we have our conscious mind and our unconscious mind, right? In our unconscious mind is where all of these roadblocks, these mental barriers, we store trauma and past experiences, and we shape an identity and a concept of self, right? Now, our concept of self, very different from our true self, right? Our true self is the limitless being that is open to all possibilities, that, is just the ultimate highest version of us. Our concept of self is the conditioned version of us that we have an ego around, that our ego looks to protect, and that we become familiar with. So if you're someone that has been a certain way for X amount of years, just say you've always been the bigger girl or the bigger guy, or the person that can never be confident, or the person that can never change their body, whatever it is for you, right? You've created an identity around this version of you. So likely the person you are right now that you feel stuck in, you've created an identity, right? And your world reflects that. People know you as this person. You have thoughts in line with this version of you. You have feelings and emotions. You do actions. You have habits, all aligned with the way that you currently see yourself, right? Now, our ego is always going to look to protect that version of us, because that is who we truly believe that we are, right? And everything proves that to be correct. So when we then start to work towards a goal, right? And in this case, just say we want to lose 10 kilos, right? Now, that version of us that loses 10 kilos is obviously going to be very different to who we are now. And it's going to be in direct conflict with who we see ourselves as now. So our ego, knowing that we're trying to work towards this and become a better version of ourselves, more confident, more attractive, doing different things in life, it sees that as a threat, right? Because, well, if I'm going to be that person, then I can't be who I am now, who I've been familiar with and who I've been comfortable with for so long. So our ego will always look to protect us and keep us exactly as we are. Now, where the core story comes into this is, again, from this identity, from who we've been, we've created a narrative and a way that we see ourselves, and ultimately a self-image. And now if we don't understand what our core story is, so basically the narrative that's been running our life of who we are, how we show up, what we do, what we're capable of, how we think, all these different kinds of things. If we're not aware of that and we don't actually change that, nothing in our external world is ever actually going to properly change, because chances are those changes are going to actually be in direct conflict with this core story and who we see ourselves as. So when we start making progress, and just say we've lost 3 kilos, right, and we're doing well, and then we have that moment where we fall off track and we start beating ourselves up and we call ourselves a failure and we throw the towel in, that is because we have essentially gotten in our own way and we have resorted back to who we truly see ourselves as. And that core story has now started to impact our actions because it's pulling us back to that familiarity, right? Because as I said, the person that loses 10 kilos, that goes against the core story that we've been living by. So why would we want to achieve that when unconsciously this is who we see ourselves as? And this is where a lot of people will trip up, is they're focused on the program, they're focused on the meal plan, they're focused on these external pieces, but little do they realize that the thing pulling the strings is who they've been and is this core story that has these sets of belief systems, thoughts, feelings, and therefore actions that is actually in charge. And again, because this is unconscious, most people don't have any awareness of this, and their only focus, and this is what the fitness industry doesn't do well at all, their only focus is, here's your reps, here's your sets, here's your calories, here's your cardio, blah, 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 blah. This is all you need to focus on. But then people that experience this, right, are like, well, I can't be consistent with that. Why can't I do this? I know what I need to do, but I can't do it. And it's because the thing pulling the strings is in direct conflict with what doing those things is actually going to help you become and the goals that it's going to achieve. So the way we can start to work through this is we need to understand our self-sabotage cycle. So everyone is going to be a little bit different to what their trigger is and why they actually do it. But ultimately, everyone that self-sabotages is doing so because they are still living by this old narrative, right? They are still seeing themselves as a certain version of themselves. Their thinking reflects that. So they stop themselves unconsciously from moving forward because that's scary. It's unknown. It's like, if I'm not the bigger guy or the bigger girl, what does that look like? Who am I? This is how everyone knows me, right? This is how our ego works. This is how we think unconsciously, right? And we create this separation from who we are versus who we want to be. So the work we need to do, the work I do, is we actually need to focus on the inner world first and foremost. And that doesn't mean we don't do the strategy and the training and nutrition. We do that, but I need you to be doing that from a completely different place. I need you to see yourself differently. I need your self-image to be different. I need your core story to change so your belief systems, your thinking, and the way you feel throughout the day will change as well. So we can align everything that's going on internally with the tangible strategy. So I still give my clients their training programs, their meal plans, their calories, their cardio to get the physical result. But what's changed is we've understood the self-sabotage cycle. We've gotten to the root cause of why that is there. We've shifted them internally. They have the tools they need to move through that. So now when they go to execute the strategy, it becomes so much more effortless. And that is ultimately my goal for those I work with, is to make the training, the nutrition, the consistency effortless, because you're not fighting against that little voice in your head that is desperately trying to keep you as you have been for so long. Guys, this is an absolute game changer when it comes to all transformation, but especially if you're someone that has struggled with confidence, body dysmorphia, body image insecurities, and a lot of failed attempts, right? And you always find yourself coming back to square one. There's a reason that's happening. The solution to it is just not that well known and spoken about in the fitness space, because it does require a level of, I guess, knowledge and education of how our inner world, our brain, our unconscious mind works to then create the results and the actions in our physical reality. All right. So yeah, I'll wrap up by saying if you self-sabotage, you're frustrated, you can't seem to create the consistent action and results, you're not alone, right? This is very, very common, but the answer is actually very, very simple when you know where to look and what to do, right? And if you are wanting to learn more about how to do that, I'd recommend reaching out to me. I've got some resources down below. You can either DM me on Instagram, or I have an email list and a free Telegram group where I'm answering direct one-on-one questions about these kind of things. So there are a lot of ways you can get in contact with me, because I truly believe this work is fucking game changing if you implement it properly. And on the other side of it, when you remove that self-sabotage cycle, is the best physical and mental shape of your life. Guys, thank you for watching this video. I hope you've enjoyed. Chuck a like, subscribe if you haven't already, and I'll see you in the next one.